Yo, come on, come all, nothing but love, nothing but respect. You know what we do, what we don't, what we is, what we isn't. And what we is here today to bring you guys and girls an absolutely wild theory. If you are not caught up to date to One Piece being 1086, I really suggest that you move on because I will be spoiling you. But now that you have, also have a bit of pity on me. I wanted to get this theory out so it's not going to be presented in the most beautiful way ever. I haven't really been into making theory videos in the past, but this was just so big, I had to get it out there. So I appreciate you guys and girls bearing with me. But now that you have, let's get into it. As of the latest chapter of One Piece, the names of the Gorosei were revealed, and with it comes potential major bombshells that we can start using to link things all together throughout the story. So, without further ado, we're going to be talking about Saint Ethan Baron V. Nusjuro, and how his name will be indicative of what his abilities are, and his name also has familiar ties with the likes of Wano, and I'm going to be tying that in with his title and potential connections to Wano. So, let's get into it. Starting off, we have the members of the Wanoian families. More specifically, those that have the names relating to moon and moon shapes. We have the Kozuki, Amatsuki, and the Shimotsuki, all being references to moons and shapes of the moon. Now, it was recently brought to my attention through TikTok, right? For those of you that haven't seen it, the link is in the link tree down below. You can follow me on TikTok and see my back and forths about this theory. However, young Two-Face sent me the amazing theory linking the fact that the D's, or the name D, most likely came from the Egyptian hieroglyphic meaning crescent moon. And I took the next steps and actually linked the meaning of the word D coming from the hieroglyphics crescent moon to the families of Wano. My linking there was the belief that Joy Boy of the past, 900 years ago, right, most likely traveled the world. In his process of traveling the world, he became friends with the giant empire that Wano actually had back in the day. Being friends with those Wanoians, they actually wanted to share a familiar sense and share their name with him. Joy Boy being sun god back in the day, obviously was indicative of the sun, but the Shimotsuki, Amatsuki, and Kozuki families of the day being representative of the moon. Now, the importance of the moon symbology there obviously comes with that Egyptian hieroglyph, the D. We know the D is actually an alias, right? We know this from the Trafalgar Law flashback in Dressrosa. It's an adopted name. I believe that the D is actually an honorific symbolizing someone being adopted into those families of Wano, and I think that honorific was first given to Joy Boy back in the day. And it also doubles up as a double reference here because if you actually look at the hieroglyphic, it is the crescent moon following the sun, which could be very symbolic and indicative of the likes of the Shimotsuki, Amatsuki, and Kozuki, who represent the moon, being servants or looking up to sun god Nika. But even more so, this symbology continues along even more crazily, right? When you actually take into perspective the fact that Imu and his name is indicative of the sea and water. Umi is his name backwards, which means water. I personally believe that he's an Umibozu, which is sort of like a water yokai. But if you think of the symbology of that, you have the likes of sun god Nika failing, the moon rising, which is representative of the uprising of the D, a centuries-long battle between the D and the water being representative of Imu versus the D, right, for 1,000 years until the second coming of the sun god, or the rising sun, indicative of the dawn, right? But now that we've got the symbolism and potential origins of where D comes from, let's take it a step further and relate it to Saint Ethan Baron V. Nusjuro. That Nusjuro sounds like a Wanoian name, but like the Wanoians, if the D is an epithet, what does the V represent? Well, if we look at the same hieroglyphics for the V as we did the D, we get this. The V in Egyptian hieroglyphics means viper, right? Now, this is absolutely mind-blowing to me because if you follow down this line of logic, it gets wilder. Looking at Ethan's design here, he's dripped out in white, he carries a sword, he looks like a monk. Why is this important? He also looks like a samurai of the lands of Wano, doesn't he? We also know, thanks to the latest chapter being 1086, that he is the finance warrior god. So, let's take these new steps. If we've been able to link the D to the Shimotsuki, how can we link the Baron here to Wano? And it's important to note that Wano's empire back in the day wasn't the Wano that we know and love it today. If you actually think about it, at the end of Wano it was revealed that the current Wano we know is actually built on top of the previous Wano of almost 1,000 years ago. I believe in this theory that Onigushima is the skull of the original Oz giant, Oz's ancestor from way back in the day. And this isn't my own theory here for the Oz section. This is a very known theory, right? But I believe he created Wano, pulled these islands together to make a safe haven for Wano back in the day, or the Wano we know it now. However, we know that the empire of Wano expanded more than actually just the borders of Wano back in the day, because if we actually go back to the Skypiea arc, we know and we have scenes of Robin walking around the city going, the poneglyph language was written casually along the walls all throughout the city, not just on the poneglyph. The reason why that's so important is that really emphasizes the fact that back in the day, right? Back in the day, the likes of Wano, or the Kozuki, right, existed not just in Wano, but in other settlements around the world. It's also important to know that the land of Wano, once known as the country of gold, also has another settlement relating to gold, being Shandora, right? I personally believe that the likes of the Wano Empire back in the day wasn't actually ruled by the Kozuki. I think the Saint Ethan Baron V Nusjuro family was actually the original rulers of said empire. And said empire wasn't actually directly connected, even if potentially allied with the ancient kingdom back in the day. The reason being for that is Nusjuro obviously looks like he is from Wano, right? If his family was the original owners or rulers of Wano and they ascended to the likes of Nusjuro, then it's very important to note, right? He's the finance warrior god. If Wano, a settlement, and Shandora, a settlement, are both known for cities of gold or countries of gold, it is highly likely that the family known for finance in the Gorosei, and more importantly the Celestial Dragons, would be in charge of financing their kingdoms back in the day. Now, the reason why I think this is important is I think the Ethan Baron family used to be in charge of the empire that Wano was back 1,000 years ago, right? But when they decided to turn against the ancient kingdom, and even more so go to Nusjuro, and this is really important here because this links back to Wano, their retainer, the Kozuki family, rebelled, being the first D's to rebel, right? That family there of the Kozuki ended up going and creating the poneglyphs, and also ended up and creating the Wano we know it today, which is its new own country, barricaded up really high in the sky, safely away from the likes of the world government, right? The naming scheme is there, the D is there, the V is there, the Nusjuro is really indicative of the likes of the Kozuki. But we can make this go a little wilder. So as I was saying before, right, the V is indicative of the Viper, right? The Nusjuro, though, if you break up Nus, it could actually be a reference to the Nuri One, a yokai with a woman's head and a snake body. We saw this in Onigushima as well. Otis littered the story with them. He is aware of them, right? But if you look at the Nus part of Nusjuro's name as a reference to the Nuri One, right, it keeps adding snake symbology. You have the V, which is the Egyptian hieroglyphic for viper. You have Nus, being a reference to the Nure Ono, right? But more importantly, you have the legend of the white snake. Now, the part that's highlighted here isn't really what I want you to focus on, but I'll read this out for you, right? The legend of the white snake. The ancient Chinese myth tells the story of a powerful female white snake demon who lived underwater, but takes human form as Madam White, or Bai Suzhen. After Bai falls in love with and marries a mortal man, Zhu Xian, a Buddhist monk, Fahai reveals her true identity to her husband. I think this mythology is actually flipped. We're looking at a Buddhist monk here. Ethan's design is that of a Buddhist monk, to the point where people were calling him Gandhi or Buddhist for years, right? But taking this mythology that next step, right, we get this mythology. In Japan, the Shirohebe, white snake, has been considered sacred since antiquity, long before the emergence of the hard rock band with a similar name. White snakes are believed to be messengers of Benzaiten, right? Bringers of fortune or water deities, right? Now, I really need to link this back, right? Guys, white snakes are representative of fortune. Saint Ethan Baron v. Nusjuro is the god of finance. Finance and fortune go hand in hand, right? His design is that of a monk following the same mythology of a mythical white snake, right? Going a step further, he's literally dripped out in white gear. His sword resembles that, arguably, it would be very symbolically representative of the fangs of a viper, right? And going even further, again, right, we have the water deity aspect of the mythology. Imu's name backwards is Umi, which means water. Personally, I believe Im is an Umi Bozu, right? But in this section right here, and I apologize for the format this is all in. I just have to get this out. Im being a water deity, right, and having a white snake under him that's in charge of fortune that looks like a Buddhist monk. It's all coming together. But I can make this connect even a little bit better here. Because again, look at him. Sword, white cloak. That's what you need at the moment, right? Looks like a monk. If you actually look at chapter 1085, in this scene here, but more specifically, this section of it right here, we see that Ethan actually has a very slender body, but we also see the Neo Cloud representing the fact, right, that he is an awakened zone. But if you go a few pages later, we see him shaped like this. Now that could be his leg, but it's very squiggly for a leg. More than likely, it's actually a snake hybrid zone that's awakened here. And what takes up a majority of that body there is his kimono, right? If you actually follow along, that leg is probably his snake-esque body. And again, he would look somewhat like this, but be a swordsman that is also an awakened zone, alright? I'm telling you, I can't make this stuff up. Again, think of the connections, right? The Nusjuro being indicative of him having some sort of symbology with Wano, especially if his sword here is the Shodai Kitetsu, right? The V in his name being the Egyptian hieroglyph for viper. The Nus being a representative of the Japanese yokai snake character, right? The Juro being indicative of the of his connections to Wano. His white epithet being a white snake. His clothes being representative of him being a white snake, right? His sword being a representative of being the fangs of a snake. And I'm taking this a step further here. I'm going to say even arguably, right, that he coats his sword, or his ability allows him to make his sword poisonous. So if it cuts you, it'll kill you. So you cannot receive a single attack from it because it's a venomous viper snake, right? I've been rambling. Let me know what your thoughts are on this theory in the description down below. Again, I have to apologize for the format that it's in. But I've already released this on TikTok. I couldn't hang back and not be the first person to get this out on YouTube. Again, sorry for the format. Follow me. I'm trying to hit 1,000. Oh, sorry. Follow me on TikTok. I'm trying to hit 1,000 followers so I can go live and talk anything anime and manga related. If you haven't done so already, right, subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to hit 200 subscribers at the moment on the channel. Check out the link tree in the description down below. Click the link tree to, you know, check out things like my YouTube, my Twitch, my TikTok, my Discord, where you can join and talk anything anime and manga related. That being said, if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon for more notifications for content like this, give the video a thumbs up and all that good stuff. And until the next video of mine you watch, thank you guys and girls for coming through. Nothing but love, nothing but respect. Have a damn good day. Goodbye.